The rain over Cedar Falls that night was a lover's sigh, a cold, persistent whisper that clung to everything it touched. Ben Carter walked beneath the dim streetlights, his broad shoulders heavy with quiet fatigue. The late shift was finally over. All he could think of was Maisie, tucked safely in her dreams, a soft warmth against the biting chill. Then, at the corner, beneath the tired awning of the laundromat, a silhouette caught his eye. A girl, drenched, shivering, yet standing with a dignity that asked for nothing. Her hair hung heavy with rain, framing a face that held no plea, only stillness. Ben stopped. He kept his distance. His voice came low, gentle, cutting softly through the endless drone of the rain. "It's late. You shouldn't be out here alone." She lifted her head, eyes wide, guarded, like a deer caught in sudden light. "I don't need anyone's pity." "It's not pity," he said, honest and steady. "I've got a place with a roof, hot water, lights. If you need somewhere to rest until morning, there's a couch." Silence, only the rain. Her shoulders trembled, almost imperceptibly. Then, a single, soft nod. They walked without speaking, just the rhythm of footsteps, and the rain keeping time. Inside the small house, warm yellow light pushed the shadows away. "Shoes off on the mat," he murmured, voice low as a lullaby. "Couch is yours tonight. Blankets in the cupboard. Bathroom's on the right. Water takes a while to heat, but it will." She nodded again, quicker this time. He set a steaming mug on the table, a small note beside it. "If you need to call someone, there's a landline on the wall. Please, don't open the bedroom door. My daughter's a light sleeper." Sophie, that was her name, wrapped her frozen hands around the mug. Heat seeped into her skin, a stranger's kindness. No questions, no judgment. Sometimes that is all a soul needs. Morning came soft and tender. Sophie stirred beneath a thin blanket. Someone had quietly laid over her in the night. The water in the cup was cold now, but the air carried the warm scent of something like home. Then, a bright laugh, clear as a bell. "Dad, the eggs are burning." Sophie sat up, running fingers through tangled hair, drawn toward the sound. In the tiny kitchen, 6-year-old Maisie stood on a chair, wielding a wooden spoon like a scepter. Ben, pan in hand, wore the sweetest look of defeat. Maisie spotted her first. Her eyes went wide, then lit up like sunrise. "Are you the princess who slept on the sofa?" Sophie laughed, a real laugh, surprised out of her. "I suppose I am," she said, crouching to meet those shining eyes. "And who are you?" "Maisie, 6.5. Dad said a girl got caught in the rain, so he brought you home, just like a fairy tale. Only thing missing is a talking cat." Ben turned, cheeks flushed from the smoke. "We're attempting breakfast," he admitted. "Might need a rescue team." Sophie smiled. "I'm not much of a cook, but I can help clean up the chaos." "Good enough," Ben said, a grin breaking through. "In this house, if nothing explodes, you're qualified." They moved together in the small space, easy as breathing. Maisie buttered toast with sticky fingers, humming a made-up song. Ben tried the eggs again this time, only slightly scorched. Sophie spilled pancake batter and sent Maisie into giggles. "It's okay," Maisie said, handing her a napkin. "Dad spills stuff all the time." Something stung behind Sophie's eyes. She looked at the child, then at Ben, and felt the quiet ache of never having belonged in a kitchen like this. They sat around the little wooden table, eggs too salty, pancakes a little burnt. No one complained. "Think this might be the best breakfast all week?" Ben said, teasing. "It's only Tuesday," Sophie shot back. "Exactly," he winked. "The week doesn't stand a chance." Maisie nodded like this was the wisest thing ever said. Sophie laughed again, and in that moment, amid burnt butter and a child's chatter, she understood. Family isn't blood. It's pulling out a chair at the table and simply being seen. That afternoon, after dishes were washed and laughter still hung in the air, Ben offered her a glass of water, then hesitated. "I know the owner of the laundromat on Oak Street. They're short-staffed, nothing fancy. But if you want to try, I can take you over." Sophie went very still. Choices were new to her. No demands, no judgment. Just a door, gently opened. She nodded. The laundromat smelled of detergent and warm cotton. The woman behind the counter looked her over, not unkindly, and said, "Grab an apron. Start now." And just like that, Sophie was folding towels, arms aching, soap under her nails, heat flushing her cheeks. Sweat soaked the borrowed shirt. This was a world of honest work. And strangely, she didn't hate it. Out back, she leaned against the brick wall, slipped off her ruined shoes, felt the blister throb. She wanted to sit down and never get up, not from weakness, but from the unfamiliar weight of standing on her own. The next morning, on the porch, sat a pair of bright white shoes, simple, new, her size. Tucked inside the left one, a small folded note. In Ben's quiet, slanted handwriting, "If you must walk, walk without pain." Sophie stood in the cool morning air, sparrows singing, and felt seen in the deepest way possible. That night the wind howled. Cold and restless, Ben loaded clean laundry into his old truck. Sophie stood nearby, clutching her thin coat. "You sure you want to come? It's almost midnight. I want to see how you work," she said softly, "at least once. I don't want to only be the one helped." He smiled, small and warm, and said nothing more. They drove through Sleeping Street, dropping bags at quiet doors. At house number 15, Ben nodded toward the porch. "Want to try? It's a light one." She took the bag, placed it gently. Then a bark, huge, sudden. A shaggy dog charging from the shadows. Sophie stumbled, fell hard, ankle twisting, palm scraping raw. Ben was there in an instant. "Back?" he roared. The dog stopped short, then retreated. He knelt beside her, hands trembling as they touched her shoulders. "Are you okay?" His voice was rough, afraid. "I'm fine," she whispered. "Just scrape." He didn't answer, just bowed his head, breathing hard, a hand pressed to his forehead, like he'd seen something unbearable. "I told you to wait in the truck," he said, so quietly I thought I could handle it. He helped her up. His shoulders were rigid, not anger, fear, raw, shaking fear that she had been hurt. "No one," she whispered later in the truck, "has ever been angry with me, because they were scared for me." He looked at her, eyes soft now, opened the door gently, as if she were precious. And in the quiet cab, tears rolled down her cheek, not from the burning scrape, but because someone, finally, cared. The next morning, at the laundromat, sunlight poured through dusty windows. Sophie folded towels, ankles still sore, heart still tender from Ben's fear. She opened a bag and froze. There, among the clothes, glinted a delicate necklace, sapphire teardrop, white gold. Her mother's? Ben's voice behind her, low and calm. "That isn't something a homeless girl usually carries." She laid it on the counter, fingers trembling. "You're right. It isn't." A long breath. "I'm Sophie Blake, daughter of Richard Blake, CEO of Blake Holdings." Silence stretched, thick and heavy. "Then why are you here?" "Because I was suffocating," she whispered. "I ran, changed my phone, threw away my cards, kept only a few things, like this necklace. It was my mom's." Ben looked at her, the girl who'd eaten burnt pancakes, laughed with his daughter, worked until her hands shook, and tried to match her, with the heiress standing before him. "I wasn't trying to deceive you," she said. "I just didn't know when I trusted someone enough to tell the truth. Holding something back is still a kind of lie," he said softly, not angry, just hurt. Before she could answer, the bell chimed. A man in a leather jacket raised his phone. Click. Got her. 5 days missing. And here she is, folding towels. Sophie went white. Ben stepped between them instantly. "Who are you?" "Just a guy who got paid." The man smirked. "Daddy wants his little girl back." "Leave? Now?" "Can't stop it," the man said, backing out. "A girl like her can't hide forever." The door closed. Sophie sank into a chair, face in her hands. Ben stood very still, not because of who she was, but because someone had just stolen the first safe place she'd ever found. That night, it rained again. Soft, morning. Ben didn't hesitate. "Pack what you need," he said. "Maisie's with mid. Green tonight." In the truck, streetlights blurred through the windshield. "We can keep driving," he said quietly. She shook her head. "I can't run forever." They turned back onto their street and stopped. A black car waited, headlights blazing. 2 men, and between them, tall, silver-haired, unyielding, Richard Blake. Sophie stepped out into the rain, Ben beside her, never in front. Richard's voice cut cold. "So you finally show your face." Ben spoke, calm as stone. "She's not property. She just needed room to breathe." Richard laughed. "Bitter. Breathe here. In this place, what can you possibly give her besides a leaking roof and burnt toast. Sophie lifted her chin. I had everything. Dad? Except peace. You think love is burnt bread and napkins. You don't belong here. Maybe not, she said, voice shaking. But here, I get to be me. Richard stared. Come home. The car is waiting. You don't want the world thinking, Blake ran off with someone like this. Sophie turned to Ben, eyes soft, brimming. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. He only nodded, heart too full for words. She walked toward her father, steps heavy, not defeat, but the weight of choosing duty over the first place she'd ever felt loved. Ben watched her go, rain on his face, understanding that sometimes the most precious things leave, not because they are unloved, but because love alone cannot always hold them. The little house grew quiet, no laughter at breakfast, no tiny songs. Maisie asked for Sophie every morning, then stopped asking. Then one night, Maisie began to cough, softly at first, then fever, chills, lips pale beneath blankets. Ben carried her to the clinic, then the hospital. White lights, beeping machines, his little girl so small in the bed. A woman with a clipboard approached. We need a deposit, around $6,000, to begin treatment. Ben opened his wallet. $130. I'll pay in installments. I work 2 jobs. I'm sorry, she said gently. It's policy. Then a voice, clear, steady, from the end of the hall. I've got it. Ben turned. Sophie stood there, rain dripping from her hair, coat dark with water, as if she had run the whole way. She laid a card on the counter. Everything? Tests, meds, room? Bill it to me. The clerk looked up. Are you family? Sophie met Ben's eyes, then smiled, soft and sure. I'm connected, not by blood, but by heart. Hours later, when the doctor said, she'll be okay, Ben finally breathed. Sophie stood beside him, silent, offering no promises, only presence. She went back to Minneapolis one last time. The elevator rose silently. To the 28th floor, Richard stood at the window, city lights glittering below. I knew you'd come to your senses. I didn't come back, Dad. I came to talk. He turned, eyes sharp. Your little adventure is over. You have a future here. Don't throw it away on a fantasy. Sophie stepped forward, voice quiet but unshakable. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing myself. For the first time. You'll regret this, he said. You'll grow tired of not having enough. I had everything, she answered, and no one ever looked at me like I was enough, just as I am. In Cedar Falls, someone does. She turned and walked away, steps light, free. Back in Cedar Falls, morning sky clear and pale. Ben stood at the stove, stirring pancake batter, eyes drifting to the window, still looking for something. A soft knock. He opened the door. Sophie stood on the porch, hair tied back, holding a brown paper bag, eyes red from tears, but shining. For Maisie, she said, offering the bag. Real blueberry muffins, no preservatives. Ben took it, speechless. I'm not here to ask for a couch, she whispered, and I'm not here to say goodbye. I'm here to ask if there's still space, not just in this house, but in your life. I want to stay, not just tonight, forever. Behind him, tiny bare feet pattered. Miss Sophie. Maisie launched into her arms. Sophie knelt, offered a muffin. Tears falling now. Are you staying for good? Sophie looked up at Ben. His eyes held no doubt this time. Yes, she said, voice breaking with joy. For good. 2 months later, on a sunny corner near the park, a pale blue breakfast truck stood beneath the trees. Carter's Corner. Breakfast from the heart. Ben flipped burritos. Sophie poured coffee. Maisie, in a tiny striped apron, handed out sun-shaped stickers to every child who passed. In the rain-soaked streets of a small town, a single dad opened his door. To a shivering stranger, he gave her a couch, hot water, burnt pancakes, a pair of shoes when her feet bled. She gave him her truth and came back when he needed her most. Together they built a family, not from blood, but from chosen love. And every morning, beneath the awning of their little blue truck, the smell of coffee and fresh muffins drifts through Cedar Falls, reminding anyone who needs it that home is wherever someone sees your heart and pulls out a chair